the park is a way that we've found to help connect people. There are mental health benefits that they've found in studies that can actually, that this fostering of human connection and gathering that helps lift a community.
Yes.
And so
I believe that.
Yeah, so that is one of the foundational things.
This is why we want to party together and come together and celebrate. This is why we have weddings and birthday parties and, you know, all the reasons you'd want to go to the park to celebrate, because there's these mental health benefits and connection. And when you think about the way we're so disconnected now through our phones and social media, we've got to counteract that in powerful ways to bring people together, which is what you're doing and creating a space for in your community.
Well, and even as you and I are talking right now, there's oxytocin release as a mother is nursing a baby. And there's oxytocin release as two people are talking and making eye connection. And just this powerful connection and this powerful emotional release that both of us receive from this conversation. And then even in service, it showed that both the person who does service, the person who receives the service, and also just an observer, an onlooker, has this oxytocin release seeing service.
That's amazing. I believe it. Because after every time I record a podcast, I come away exhilarated from the conversation that we've had, from the connection that we've made, from the things that I've learned. And it feels like, oh, I could just do this all the time. And then as I step away from it, though, I'll have self-doubt creep in, or life and busy, and why do I, anxiety over doing the next one. But when I stick with it and have the connection in that conversation, I am greatly rewarded every time.
Well, and I think even tonight, it's interesting that we're talking today, because one of my friends is going through just some rough things with some family, with health stuff that just needed a little night out. So we've got just a few of her inner circle getting together to do some hydrotherapy. But I received some news yesterday that was really had a really hard impact on me, and I thought, I need that too. So here I was trying to do this for somebody else, but it's going to come back and benefit me and bless me with what I think I need right now. With
immediate rewards for service.
Yes.
I think we're always immediately rewarded. Maybe not as closely as what you're experiencing in the moment, but always when we step outside of ourselves, willing to serve or help someone else. So you're serving me to show up and do this podcast. We're benefiting from it. We can always help one another.
Well, and it was interesting. Someone we got several texts after receiving this honor that was so humbling, that there's so many people that deserve it in our community. So we were very humbled, and there were a lot of people that maybe that didn't surprise, that were close friends that congratulated us. But then there were some that weren't necessarily in our inner circle that had reached out and just congratulated us on this. And I remember one in particular, this friend, that she just said that anytime that she gets this impression to say something good, she was just going to put herself out there and do it. And I thought,
oh, wonderful.
I love that. I love that, because I don't think any positive thing that you put out there is ever going to be rejected by someone.
No, we should always be very generous with our compliments.
Very
and authentic,
generous.
Real and authentic. But when you feel that you want to compliment or say something, say it, because you never know who needs to hear that and who needs to receive it. So I love that. That reminder.
And on that note, we were talking about it a little bit before, but my one of my daughters, I remember she had gone away to a summer camp. That they were just there for a week, but she came back and she had this kind of shift in her whole outlook. I didn't find this out till several years later, actually, from another friend who taught her at church that shared this with me, but our daughter had come away from that and she said everybody in their group had something really awesome about them.
Yeah.
And she came back and she said that from then on, her outlook on things was she was going to every person she met, whether it was at school, whether it was a church group, whether it was at a sports type interaction, whatever it was, that she was, even the most difficult people, she was going to find out what was special about that person and get to know them until she discovered what it was. Because we do every person has something of value and something that is awesome about them that we just need to discover.
Yeah.
So I learned from my daughter. I loved that and tried to implement that.
Oh, I love that, and I love that you said the word discover, because that means like take the time to get to know, really look into somebody, because sometimes you can't know that at the very beginning, and it's pretty often that we'll make a judgment too soon before you've given somebody a chance or gotten to know them. But when you do start looking at people as special and that everyone has something unique to offer, and then are willing to take the time to discover that, how cool is that to think about?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really wonderful. So you're I think just really great at discovering ways that you can also serve and help, which you've been honored for. So the park is one of the ways that you're doing that. But there's two other really amazing projects. One of them I discovered as I went to the new primary children's hospital in Lehigh, with a group of women from our church to donate books that we had collected over Christmas time. And so we went there to take a tour and to go deliver these books. And I was not surprised at all when I walked in to see your picture on the wall and that you were part of that building of that hospital. So what do you want to say about that? Tell us a little. It's fun to get some of the behind the scenes stories of what prompted you, because I know that you don't do anything without really having some inspiration, because there's many things that you could do with your time. All of us, there's so many things we could do with our time, with our talent, with our resources that you've been so blessed with through this journey of developing and growing doTERRA. But these are the ones you've chosen. So it's fun to hear about it.
So it's interesting how life gives you some nudges that take you places that maybe were unexpected, that you didn't think about. But we have been approached with a lot of good and worthy projects. And there came a time, I think it was probably about in 2018, the summer of 2018, as we had moved back from living overseas, that Greg and I were both trying to be aware of, we were approached many times, but trying to be intentional of what to do with the resources with which we had been blessed.
Yes.
And
which probably feels, I would imagine, like a really heavy stewardship in some respects, because you can only do so much to increase your happiness with wealth, for your family and whatnot. And then beyond that, there's good you can do, which I know is in your heart.
Well, and during that time, it was interesting, because I remember praying one time and just saying, what do you want us to do with your money? And as I said that prayer, I thought, it surprised me. I was really surprised by the words that I was saying. And at the same time, Greg was on a fishing trip with one of his good buddies in Alaska, who happened to work at Primary Children's and do a lot, very involved with Primary Children's. And Greg was having the same conversation with him and just saying, we are trying to just figure out what to do with our resources. And this friend of his, actually Russ Osgathorpe, he said, well, Primary Children's is going to be building a new children's hospital in Lehigh. You might want to consider doing something that way. And so we were actually the first people that met with, he arranged for us to meet with the top people at Primary Children's, and they had not even put together really a campaign for that hospital at that time. And so we met with them and talked about some different things, and they were directing us. We had some kids that had some orthopedic surgeries and different things that way, and were kind of directing us maybe towards making a donation on that front. But as we talked with them and asked them where there is the greatest need, one of the needs that they had the greatest need for, that they thought would be hardest to get resources for, was behavioral health.
Wow.
And that was our introduction or foray into the mental health arena.